Well, look at that view. This is a late September view. Just beautiful. Won't be long and all those trees over there will all be yellow and red, and well, the view is just fantastic in the fall. And where you're viewing is actually the master bedroom in my apartment. This is the master bedroom window. It's a pretty good sized window, as you can see here. Measures about 4¼ feet by 4¼ feet, and it is a pretty large window. I am putting a solar panel in this window. This is going to be the main theme of this entire video. It's going to be long because I'm actually going to be installing a solar panel in this window. First I have to prep the window, then I have to mount the solar panel, then I have to seal the window, and then I have to run the wire from the panels to the box, which is approximately 30 feet from here. So it's going to be a long video, there's going to be a lot involved, and I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible, but that's just not going to happen. So when considering putting a solar panel in your window, you need to factor in 3 main points. And you know, these are real important points, important questions. The first factor is going to be the size of the window. Is the window opening going to be large enough to accommodate the solar panel of your choice? Secondly, what type of window do you have? Is it going to be a slider window like this, or is it going to be a standard vertical window that actually, you know, opens, slides up and down? And third, you need to consider the amount of sun you're actually going to be getting into this window, okay? So let's actually address the first point first. Okay, now I've done all my research, I've already picked out a panel, I've got the panel, I'm ready to install it, alright? So this window here measures just slightly over 4 feet by 4 feet, or at least the opening is, okay? And this window here is just a tad over 2 feet wide and 4 feet tall, okay? So this will fit for me a 100-watt solar panel. It'll fit in this opening just fine, okay? So I've already taken the measurements and I know that this panel is going to fit in here perfectly, alright? So I'm set there. So when you're taking your measurements, make sure you're aware of that. You can choose to lay the panel, you know, vertically, horizontally, however you want to do it, but consider that the screen that's on the other side of this is going to block some of the light. Consider that this frame right here that's down the middle is going to block some of the light. So your output is going to be reduced based on whatever is blocking, whatever hardware is in the way of the window, okay? So in my case, because I still want to make use of this window in the spring and the summertime, I'm going to be putting the panel on this side. So I've measured here and I made sure that the panel is going to actually fit in this opening right here, and it will fit with room to spare. Okay, so the function of the window is important to me to still get its use. Now in the wintertime I'm not going to be using it obviously, but in summertime this frame here is actually going to be blocking the solar panel on this side here ever so slightly. It's not going to affect this side so much, but it's going to affect this side just slightly. Plus you're going to have 2 panes of glass that it's going to have to get through, alright? So keep all those things in mind when you're actually determining whether or not your panel is going to fit. Is there going to be anything in the way? Okay. Second thing, the type of window that you have. Okay, this is a slider window, sometimes referred to as a casement window, which opens and closes like this with a crank. But this slider window here is perfect because it has this very large opening here. Okay, there's no individual little window panes, you know, some kind of an elaborate design. It doesn't slide up and down, so I don't have this big bar or trim going across here that's going to block a lot of the light that will hit the panel. So this is a nice wide open window. So I'm fortunate that I actually have these style of windows because the panel is going to sit in front of this window and there's nothing here to block it. There's absolutely nothing, okay? Now if I did get an oversized panel and it had to come across here like this, yes, it's going to inhibit it, and yes, you may say, well, it's better because then you get access to more of the window, some more light. In my case, I'm not going to spend $300 on a solar panel that's going to put out, you know, about 3/4 of its output because I've blocked it here. It's just not worth it, alright? So that's another consideration that you have to make when you're deciding on whether or not it's going to be worth it to put a panel in your window. Okay? The third thing, sunlight. How much sunlight is actually going to hit this window? Okay? In my case, I'm lucky. This building, this window, I'm looking straight west. It's almost perfectly west, within a degree or whatever. So in the summertime, the sun is actually right about here, comes up over the building and goes straight down. It's perfect. I get a lot of sunlight, okay? Now, in the wintertime, and as we're actually in the fall right now, the sun is actually off to the south slightly, okay? And it's going to get worse as the winter approaches and we go through winter until December. So we've got about 2 more months of losing sunlight. So the sun is actually going to start heading off, and it already is a lot. It's going to head off into this direction, so it's going to rise faster, and it's going to set faster. So I'm getting less sunlight. That's normal, that's expected. Fortunately, where it's setting, in my position, this willow tree is not going to block the winter sunlight. So I'm in a perfect position right now to be able to get the most possible amount of sun. It's going to creep over this this eaves trough here at about 3 o'clock, and then it's going to come down, and I'm going to get probably a good 3 to 4 hours of direct sunlight. It's not ideal, but 3 to 4 hours direct sunlight in the wintertime for my situation I think is pretty good. So we're looking at 100-watt panel, we're looking at 400 to 500 watts of generating electricity. So in my case, I actually have the opportunity to take in quite an amount of sun. Now, if you haven't seen any of my other videos, you know that I'm hindered by being in an apartment complex, okay? So this isn't the most ideal, but I already have 2 solar panels on the balcony, okay? I already have all the equipment that I need, so I'm just adding to it. I'm not investing a bunch of money so that I can have 1 panel in the window and think that that's going to be a perfect substitute for my grid use. It's not. I'm just expanding it, okay? So take all this into consideration before you decide that you want to do this. Do you have a window that's going to have access to a lot of sunlight? If it's only going to get an hour of direct sunlight, it's probably not going to be worth it. If you've got some building that's right across there and all you're getting is the sun in between the two, it's probably not going to be worth it, okay? So take all that into consideration before you actually purchase your solar panel. And another thing, you've got the wire that's going to lead from the panels to your box or however you set it up. The mounting hardware, I'm not going to just lay this against the window and let it sit there. I'm actually going to prop it up and make sure that it doesn't either bang up against this window or come up, come back against the plastic that I'm going to have in the opening. So decide how you want to mount it. There's more things that go into it. Hopefully, as you're watching this video, you get a good idea of all of the things that are involved in actually doing this project. So, so if you've gotten to this point and you're saying, yep, I got the perfect window, the perfect situation, the perfect whatever, then you need to move on to the next part, which is actually prepping the windows to be able to accept this solar panel. I'm not talking about size, I'm talking about cleaning them. And I don't know if you can see that on camera, but there's a lot of dirt and so on that is on these windows. So I need to actually pull the windows out and clean them really good before I put a panel up. So that's what we're going to do next. Okay, now I can't stress enough how dangerous this is, especially with me being on the 3rd floor. If you don't know what you're doing, don't take your windows out. You may drop them. You could break them. You could send them down onto somebody's head or whatever. And there's all sorts of dangerous things that can happen. So if you don't know what you're doing, then don't do this, or have somebody who knows what they're doing do it, okay? I've removed these windows before to clean them, so I know how to do it safely. But again, I'm not going to take responsibility if you, injure somebody, injure yourself, break your windows. I don't own these windows. This is an apartment, so there's going to be a liability involved if I do actually break these windows. So just make sure you're aware of that. Not taking any responsibility for something you're doing. If your windows are already clean, then great. You don't have to worry about this. But if yours are like mine, where they're dirty, you're going to have to clean them. You have to clean the outside of them, particularly is what I'm referring to. Okay, so you can see I have removed the screen as well as the right-hand window, the sliding window. and this is going to allow me access to the other side of this window here and be able to clean it up. Now I'm not going to actually pull this window out. It's in the track, and I don't really feel like modifying it to get it out of the track. It's permanently set in the track. It'll move back and forth just fine, but I'm not going to go to the trouble of bending the stop in order to get this out when I have perfect access to it just with my hands. So once again, you can see how far down it is. So yeah, just if you're thinking about doing this, especially on an upper floor, I take absolutely no responsibility for you falling out the window. You can see here that I've got some dirt and so on. This is actually on the outside of the window. I can easily get to it. I can easily reach around and get to it. So I'm going to go ahead and just get some regular old glass cleaner. It's warm enough out where glass cleaner should work just fine. And go ahead and clean this window up on this side. I'm not too worried about the other side. I'm still going to clean it, but I really want to make sure, since the solar panel is going to be right here, I really want to make sure that this one's cleaned up. And in the spring, when I open this window back up, I'll do another thorough cleaning. So since I'm not planning on opening the window, then I'm not too worried about the sunlight not getting through this window. It's this one where the solar panel is going to sit that I need to take care of. So I'm going to go ahead and get some just standard glass cleaner and clean that up really good. Okay, so I have cleaned the window as good as I can get it. I spent quite a bit of time working on this window, and it is a marked improvement over the previous condition of the window. There's some paint specks on this window on the outside, and I suspect it's from when they were applying some paint on the eaves troughs. As ridiculous as that sounds, the eaves troughs used to be a dark red, kind of like that roof over there. And instead of just replacing them, they ended up painting them. So I believe that the specks on there are the paint residual from that when they spray painted it on there. But I've got this all cleaned up. I haven't put the screen in yet, but I'm going to vacuum the screen. I'm going to clean the other window as good as I can get it, and then reinstall it. Okay, now the panel itself is approximately 102 centimeters tall. Okay, so if I get my tape measure out here, and I measure from the base where the panel is going to sit all the way up, 102 centimeters actually gives me probably a good looks like probably a good 6 inches extra up here. Okay, so I know the window's tall enough, but there's another problem. I don't want the actual panel to be resting down here on the bottom, because some of the light is actually going to be blocked by this track here. At the same time, this panel may get hot, and I really don't want it to be resting on this actual paint, okay, on the actual frame. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use nails. I've got some nails, and I'm going to space them out probably about 3 to 4 inches apart, and the panel itself is going to rest on these nails. And then at the top, that'll also allow me to apply nails to the top to keep the panel from going back and forth. I'll show you exactly how I'm going to do this when I get the nails and the panel up and installed. Now you can do this any way that you wanted to. If you just wanted it to rest, that's fine. But I want it to stay away from this actual paint, because the panels do get hot. So trying to keep it away from the paint as much as possible is the best. Now I also mentioned that I'm not going to have it leaning up against the window. I'm going to bring it back probably a good 2 inches. So any of the sunlight that's coming in is going to obviously hit the panel, which is going to be near the bottom here. So that should be good. So it's about 4 o'clock, and as you can see, the sun is actually starting to peek over these clouds. But you can see, relative to where my window is facing west, the sun, because it's getting closer to winter, is actually moved off to the south a little bit. I'll probably get about another 2.5 to 3 hours of sunlight before that sun is completely down and behind those trees across the way. So this is plenty of light. If there weren't any clouds, it'd be an absolute plethora of light coming through here. Sunlight will be perfect. So this is going to be a great addition to my setup. Boy, it must be true what they say. When you get a solar panel out, it starts raining. Just like when you wash your car, it rains. Actually, I don't know if anybody's ever said that, but it sure does seem like it. I'm getting ready to put in this solar panel. So I don't think anyone has actually ever at least not that I know of, actually ever unboxed a solar panel. Now this particular solar panel is obviously from Grape Solar, and it's their G-Star 100 watt, the GS-Star 100 watt solar panel. You know, it's a pretty decent size. It's not too big, but you know, I believe it just, I mean, this is how the package came from. This particular day, this particular time is FedEx, but my other two actually came from UPS. I don't think it really matters any, as long as the package isn't damaged. And Grape Solar does a really good job of actually protecting these. Of course, this came from Amazon Prime, free shipped, $140 for this panel. So pretty reasonable. So, you know, obviously I looked over the box really good, and there's no actual punctures. There's a couple of dents, but that's to be expected. So opening this is actually, you know, pretty easy. You just, you know, the ends here are glued, and you just, I'll just open the end right here. I'll try to get this on camera the best that I can. So on the inside, you've just basically got you've got a cardboard insert that actually protects the glass, and then you have cardboard corners. Other than that, there's actually nothing there that's protecting the actual solar panel. So let's go ahead and pull this out. It's really easy, really nice and easy to get this thing out once you have the box open. Well, maybe. Of course, I say that. There. So, there's the actual panel right there. And there's nothing else inside the box. Like I said, there's this this cardboard front here to protect the glass. And I actually hold on to this. I don't hold on to the box, but I hold on to this because if I ever had to move the solar panels, then I would have this to protect them. So, you know, when we get our own house or whatever, I've got this nice cut piece of cardboard that I can just throw on the front and tape it, and then it'll protect the glass from scratches or whatever. So obviously this is the actual panel, and it's a pretty good weight. You know, it's not overly heavy, but it's a pretty good weight. And you know, it comes with these four protective corners here to protect the corners. Every single time it seems like they're different. Last time they were solid cardboard like that brown insert. These are much thinner. I'm not saying that that's bad or anything. If you look on the back, you'll see you've got your MC4 connectors on the back here. Two of them, one positive, one negative. The positive is the male connector, the negative is the female connector. And then obviously you have your information on the back here. It just describes the panel itself, its specifications. And I've already got a bunch of these, but it's just your instructions. Pretty simple. But they really do change every time. The other two instruction booklets I have are actually a book. This looks like they just printed it out and they used a staple. I'm not saying that's bad or that the quality has decreased because of that, but it's just amazing. It's the same panel, same company. I've ordered 3 of these in the past probably 6 months, and they come in different packaging and different materials every time. So anyway, yeah, pretty basic solar panel, aluminum frame. You know, really nice construction. Every solar panel I have looks a little bit different, and I can tell you that this one definitely does look a little bit different. The white backing here is actually much brighter white, whereas my other 2 panels are much more of a vanilla looking. So, alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get these corner tabs off and then get the panel up into the window. Okay, so now it's time to actually get the panel itself up into the window. Now, I'm actually going to have to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use nails, and I'm going to use those to keep the panel from moving back and forth. So, I'm going to decide which way I want the panel. I'll probably do it just a standard upside down. And it kind of depends on how long these cable ties are. These are 3 feet apiece. So I actually changed my mind. I had this all thought out yesterday, and when I had these wire hooks here sitting down, you can see where I have the holes for them. What I was finding is that they weren't nearly tall enough to get the panel to actually come up over this portion of the window pane. Now, I had thought when I was looking at this, when I was actually looking at the panel, I thought that the frame, the actual frame, and then at the point when the solar panels, the little gap here, was going to overcome that, and I had just measured it wrong. So unfortunately, what was happening, the solar panel cells themselves were sitting low, and they were sitting below here, so the light would be fine when the sun was up high in the sky, but then as soon as the sun hit almost straight on, then these were going to actually block the bottom portion of the panel. So I changed my mind, and I decided I'm actually going to use these 4-inch screws instead. And they're in here really good, so I'm not worried about, the thing, these bending over or something. So this will actually bring it up about 2.5 inches versus these wire nails here. So I'm going to do that instead. Seems kind of weird, but quite honestly, I just wanted to make sure that the panel was going to get as much sun as possible. So yeah, change on the fly. So hopefully this will work out a lot better. So to make sure I have the height right all the way across, I don't want any of these to be shorter. You can see there it's pretty much right on. I'm actually going to lift the let's see, actually I'm going to lower the left side slightly. So anyway, so you can see here that I'm getting these leveled so that they're equal all the way across. That way the panel is resting on all four. So here you can see the finished results. Because these nails or these screws actually didn't have as much surface area as the coax hangers, I decided to go ahead and put two rows. So I know it seems kind of unusual. I should get some kind of a bracket or something like that to hold this up, but quite honestly, this is going to work fine for my needs. I'm not really worried about it sliding off or going anywhere. There's going to be no wind in this window. I'm going to have some more support up at the top and on the sides, so I'm not worried about this thing just suddenly sliding off. If it goes forward, it's going to end up in the window, which is fine. If it goes back, it's going to end up in the plastic, so I'm not really worried about it falling out the window or falling into the bedroom. It's going to stay put. I'm not worried about that at all. Okay, so you can see the panel is in the window now. This is what it's going to look like when it's finished. Now I still need to add support to the back so it doesn't come this way. But you can see here it's level. So it's straight. I've got a screw there keeping it from going into the window. I've got two on the side here from keeping it from going into the window, and then obviously it rests on these just fine. As I said, I know it looks weird, but it's fully functional, and it'll prevent the panel from actually touching the paint, and this panel will get warm, so that's going to help that. I could have used like a wood or something underneath here, but I really wanted to stick with something metal. This does its job just fine, so yeah, it's not perfect, but it'll work just fine. So now I need to get the back support, and then should be ready to wire. Alright, so installation is complete. The panel's not going anywhere. There's no wind that's going to be hitting this thing, so I'm not worried about it sliding off. I'm going to have plastic on the outside of this window, so if something does happen, worst case scenario, either it's going to move forward just a little bit into the window, which isn't going to hurt it, or it's going to come back into the plastic, which again isn't going to hurt it because the plastic is going to catch it. So this is going to keep the panel from coming back. 1, 2, 3 will keep the panel from going forward into the window. These will keep the panel from shifting side to side. We are done. I know it looks kind of funny. I know the comments are going to be like, wow, that looks really stupid, but I don't care. The window's going to be sealed up anyways, so I'm not trying to win a beauty contest for this solar panel. Probably next year what I'll do is I'll actually make something at this height so that I can lay it on there, but for now, it's starting to get cold out. I want to get this done as soon as possible. This is a fully functional setup, and it's not going anywhere. So I'm going to go ahead and start my connections. Okay, let's make sure that the panel actually works. It's in the window now, There's no direct sunlight, however, I can still make sure that the panel is functioning. Should get around, I'm guessing around 18 to 20 volts approximately. We'll see. So I'm just going to check it with a multimeter. Okay, you might be able to see that. I'm getting about 19 volts. About 19 volts. So panel's working just fine. That's open voltage, which maxed out at about 21 volts for this panel. So once it gets hooked up to the system, it's going to bring that voltage down to where the battery's at. Alright, so it's time for me to actually hook the MC4 connectors. You've got a male connector, which is positive, and a female connector here, which is negative. It's time for me to actually get these hooked up. And what you can see here is I've got the positive and the negative wire. This is the 8-gauge wire right here, and it's going to hook to obviously these two terminals. But first I have to make ends for this so that it'll plug into the panel. And right now you can see that I've got these. I bought a bulk of these on Amazon. I think it was a couple bucks. They're just basically the same connectors. They come apart really easy. So this will connect to the negative side, and this will connect to the positive side. And you know, essentially this just hooks right up. So what I do is I take these, okay, and I'll crimp them on the end of the wire here, and then they will actually plug right into this portion here, and it'll just slide on through here, and then I can just plug it into the solar panel. It's really easy to do. Doesn't take that much time. At the same time, I'm going to be using a dielectric grease. Dielectric grease will prevent corrosion, heat buildup, things like that. It really keeps everything in check. So I always put some dielectric grease on the connections between the wire itself, this piece here, and then on the inside that's actually going to connect to the solar panel, just to be on the safe side. So I'll go ahead and get that done right now. Okay, you can see here that I've went ahead and put the ends on. Did a real good job. Make sure you do a good job when you're crimping these to make sure they're solid. So when you pull on them, you know, they're not loose or anything else like that. So now the easy part is just getting them on. Now you can see here the positive of the solar panel is actually going to the female end, which is labeled a negative on here, but that's obviously not going to be the case. So they're actually two different sizes. One of them's really thick, one of them's thin. So this really thick one is actually going to be going on the positive end, which is going to connect to the positive of the solar panel, even though it says right here negative. That's just not the case. It's reversed. As long as I know that, then I'm okay. So this piece right here with the rubber boot in it just slides right on just like that. And then this whole portion here comes down, locks into place, and then what you do is you screw this, tighten it up as tight as it'll go, all the way till it's locked. And then when you got it as tight as it'll possibly go, that's probably about as tight as I'm going to get it. Do a tug test, okay, and this one's solid. So I'm going to do the same thing with the male connector. Just going to take the rubber boot and lock in place, stick it in there, and then tighten it down as good as I can possibly tighten it down. So it's tightened down all the way. Okay, so now this one is tight. Tug test. Everything seems to be good. So now, since I'm holding on to the negative, this is the negative of the solar panel. I can go ahead and take this, slide it in, just like that, okay? Now, I'm actually not going to connect the positive. The reason is because I need to hook it up at the box first, and then I will connect this together. I don't want to connect it while there's actually voltage going through this, because there's obviously, if I short it by accident when I'm trying to get the ring terminals hooked up, things like that. So essentially, once I get the positive hooked in, then I should be able to connect this and I will be in business. Okay, so I have quite literally been waiting 3 days to finish off the footage of this install, and it has been cloudy and rainy for the past 3 days. There was Let's see, yesterday there was some clearing for about an hour, but of course I wasn't home at the time, and by the time I did get home it was dark. And so right now there's actually some light coming through, but it's still quite a bit of an overcast, and there's a storm that's moving our way. So by the time the sun does decide to hit these panels, which is going to be in about another hour and 45 minutes, it's going to be too late. There's a storm that's actually moving through here. It's supposed to be here within about an hour. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to get that footage. But very briefly, when I got these panels first installed, the sun was out very briefly for probably about 5 minutes, and I was getting about 13 and a half amps approximately out of this, and that's the highest I've seen it. Now I expect more when the sun is directly on these. There was still a slight overcast, so it wasn't putting out what it could be putting out. But anyway, it's kind of frustrating that I got this panel installed, and suddenly, well, you know, Michigan is going to be Michigan right when I install this panel. But I have the third panel wired in. I know it may be a little hard to see. I've got it wired in right there. There's the ground for the third panel, and there is the positive for the third panel. I know it's hard to see. I'm not getting very much light in here. So the system is wired in. I ended up using these spade connectors. These are 8 gauge. They're 8. Excuse me. These are 8 AWG spade connectors. So got these for like $5. Got a set of 4. I've pretty much used them in all of my major connections. So anyway, the system is online and it is tied in, and on rare occasions I do see it jump up above the 10 amp 11 amp mark, but again, I haven't had any sun to work with here, so I haven't been able to get footage. But I promise you that my main goal right now is to get this video finished and uploaded. But I promise you that when the sun does decide to come out, I will get you some additional footage of this to prove to you that I should be reaching about 15 amps approximately at this time of year, approximately. So yeah, you know, there's the I mean, if you haven't seen the video on my box and so on here, you know, you can check that out. My renewable energy project is full of videos right now. I'm up to almost 20. This will be the 20th video. And yeah, so right now I've actually got it running on grid time, and that's because I don't have my computer or anything running right now. Actually, I have nothing running except for maybe the fridge. So where do I go from here? Well, I'll be adding more panels. I'm going to build a new stand for this that will accept 5 panels in total, and I'll get you some build footage of that. At the same time, I'm going to have to upgrade the wire running from that to 8 gauge. Then I'm going to have to upgrade the wire running on the internal side of this to 8 gauge, or excuse me, 4 gauge, particularly the 4 gauge that's going to be running to the charge controller. So yeah, if you have any questions about any of this, the window installation or whatever, then just drop me a comment. I'll be more than happy to help you. Hopefully this gives you quite a bit of information, and it actually will kind of give you some hope that even though you may not have a balcony like me, you know, if you don't have access to this nice big balcony, as long as you have access to the sun, then you can still put in a solar panel and then maybe even a grid tie inverter. Now, I would not go to all of the investment of buying a pure sine wave inverter, a battery, a charge controller, all this equipment that I have right here. I would not buy all this equipment to have one 100-watt panel sitting in your bedroom. I mean, that just, it's not going to pay for itself. Okay? So anyway, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm here to help. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Take care.